Mel Stride and saying that I wanted to ask you about President Trump. A court in Colorado, top court in Colorado, has declared him ineligible to run for president because of his involvement in the insurrection on the 6th of January. And you said, what does that mean?
Well, I think it would probably be ill-advised of me as a government minister to start sort of intervening in the US electoral process by commenting too much, other than to say there will probably be many twists and turns in the story of Donald Trump as we approach
That's true, but
the elections next year.
Yeah, indeed, November of next year. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's fair to say that the court, we know, determined he engaged in insurrection. We're all aware of that. Should somebody, in all reasonableness, who has done something like that, be allowed to run for president?
That is a matter for the US system to determine. There are various legal cases going on, aren't there, both civil and at state level. But I really think that's a matter for them. It's not a matter for the UK.
That's two body swerves. I'm
for the UK government.
Yeah, I'm feeling Christmassy. I'm going to let you get away with that.
That's very generous, Kate. Thank you.
Let me ask you about Peter Bowen instead. Another by-election.
Yeah.
Worried?
I think clearly he has a 19,000 majority, but we still have to fight for every single vote, which is what we will do. The one thing I would say, Kay, is that, and my colleagues on my side of the House feel this and experience it week in, week out, is when you knock on doors and you talk to people about the next general election, the tough choice that people are going to have to take.
They say, I'm not
what are
going
they
to vote
likely to do? But what they don't say, and this is a significant thing, is I've got a burning passion to see Keir Starmer in number 10. And one of the reasons they're concerned about Keir Starmer is on the spending side. So they have this plan to spend £28 billion. They've said they won't borrow, so that means more tax, it means higher interest rates, higher inflation. We've seen inflation just come down quite dramatically just this morning, the numbers announced at 7 a.m. And they don't want to put that at jeopardy. So I think, yes, Labour have a wide lead at the moment, but I think it's very, very thin. And I think there's all to play for. But we will fight, you know, Peter's seat, Wellingborough, we will fight that for every single vote, and we'll go at it as hard as we possibly can. Is
it a policy decision now to play the man? Because that's what you're all doing. When you come on, you're all having a pop at Starmer.
Well, I'm not. I'm talking about policy. Well, no, I mentioned this £28 billion. You know, £28 billion, OK, unfunded spending.
You just said that they're not saying, I want to vote for Starmer.
Well, no, I don't think they do. But inevitably, you've got to frame it as a contest between ourselves and Labour, and I think Labour are in second position in the Wellingborough constituency. But I think it's a policy point, Kay. £28 billion is a vast amount of money, and I say that having been chair of the Treasury Select Committee. I know what these numbers mean. If you are to go out and spend that and not borrow, as they're suggesting, you are going to have to ramp up taxes to eye-watering levels. You're going to see interest rates staying higher for longer. You're going to see reversals to the progress that we've made on inflation. Well, we've brought it down by more than half, and we've seen it fall to below 4% in the numbers this morning. Those are huge achievements. Yeah. We're beginning to turn the corner, and I don't think people are going to want to put that at risk.
People know what they're voting for when they vote Labour, and they're still doing it.
Well, as I say, look, there's a way to go to the general election, and if I was a Labour politicians sitting here, I would not be saying it's all in the bag, we've got this sorted.
Well, they don't do that.
They don't, and they're right not to, because that lead that they have, I think, is wafer thin. It's not deep.
20-odd%, isn't it?
It's a wide. I've accepted that it's wide.
How big are your wafers in your house?
I've accepted that it's wide, but it is wafer thin. I am not having people bounding up to me in my constituency saying, I've got to vote for Labour, I've got to vote for Keir Starmer. I've got people
They're not saying they've got to vote for the Tories either.
No, well, I see people who are beginning to say, do you know what, we're making progress. We accept that we had COVID, this once-in-a-century externality that visited our economy. We've had this war between Ukraine and Russia. We've had the spike in inflation as a consequence. It's been really tough. But we recognise that this government has done what it can to support the vulnerable and working people and so on through that period.
OK.
We're now turning the corner. So let's not blow it. That's what I'm beginning to hear, is let's not blow that achievement.
OK, well, we'll be chatting to the Chancellor, so we'll hear from him shortly. I want to talk about a story that has once again come front and centre because of the magnificent Dame Esther Rantzen, who is at stage 4 lung cancer, as we know. She said that she may well go to Dignitas to end her life when the time comes. Labour yesterday said there should be a debate in Parliament, should there?
Well, the government has not said that they will set aside time for a debate. But I do think the fact that Esther has raised this, I mean, what a dignified and special person she is, and what a difficult subject. It is a matter for Parliament, ultimately. It may be that her intervention now makes it a more salient issue and Parliament comes to it. I know that the government doesn't have any plans at the moment, though, to come forward with a vote.
Your colleague Kit Malthouse says that he's been cruising the tea rooms to try to find out the mood, and that has changed significantly since there was last a vote.
Yeah.
How would you vote?
Well, last time this came before the House, I voted in favour of assisted dying, but I do recognise it's an extraordinarily delicate... On balance, probably, but do you know what, Kay? I think it's such a balanced decision with so many dangers on both sides that I would want to look very carefully at it again. So I don't think I would commit myself until, or as and when, such a vote came forward to the House. I'd really want to go through all those details again. Because on the one hand, you've got, yes, absolutely, we want people to have control of the end of their lives. We want them to die in dignity. On the other side, you want to make sure that people aren't in any way being cajoled into taking those kinds of decisions when it's not actually right for them. It's a terribly difficult balance.
It's not very dignified for people to have to travel overseas to end their life, though, is it?
In an ideal world, if you can iron out all the dangers involved in permitting assisted dying, you're absolutely right. You would allow people to do that in the dignity of their own home, at home, not having to travel, not having, for example, relations and loved ones that, if they get involved under the current arrangements, may be liable to prosecution, for example, simply because they're trying to help somebody that they dearly love. So all of those are very difficult things. But as I say, if it comes back to the House and that's a matter for Parliament, then I will want to look at it very closely.
Let me ask you about the liaison committee yesterday. Your boss said there's no firm date when he expects the flights to take off to Rwanda, and he couldn't list any airlines which will be operating the flights to Rwanda. Can you help us with either of those this morning?
Well, look, I have absolutely no doubt that as and when we get to the point where we're ready to send people on planes to Rwanda, planes will be available. But let's not forget the progress we've already made. People keep overlooking this. They keep focusing on Rwanda. We've got the number of boat crossings...
Down by 30%, nothing to do with Rwanda.
Well, no, but the rest of Europe, of course, has been going up by about 80%.
But it's nothing to do with Rwanda, so why not just...
No, Rwanda is well, because it's an integral part of the policy. So we're working much more closely with the French, which has had a very positive impact. We had a deal with Albania that's seen 90% reduction in the number of Albanians coming across. And Rwanda will be a bit like Albania, which is proven to have worked, because it breaks the model. It means that those criminal gangs... Well, what we've got to do is get to the point where... How many people you send? Well, all those that come across illegally, we will be returning. And that's what that bill does.
Not to Rwanda, though?
Well, in a large...
with a couple of hundred?
Well, the legislation that's going through Parliament at the moment means there's a very narrow, thin route for people potentially to stay and get granted asylum, but it's a very, very high bar.
So you're
to the others, they will be...
Tens of thousands will go to Rwanda.
Well, they will be here. Once the legislation's through, that's what the legislation will facilitate.
So you're saying tens of thousands of migrants will go to Rwanda?
Once the legislation is through, and we have that there, we will then have the tools to do that. Well, we will then have the tools to do that.
Because my understanding is it's just a few hundred.
Well, once the legislation isn't through at the moment, but once the legislation is through, we will have the ability to send people to Rwanda as a safe country, backed up by a treaty, which means that those that go there, Rwanda will not be able to send them on to any other third country, which might put them in danger. And indeed, there is a possibility of them coming back to us under certain circumstances. So we safeguard the safety of those that are sent there. But we've got to break the model. And if we can break the model, we can stop people dying in the Channel. We can stop people being exploited, humanly trafficked. These are awful things that are happening, and we need to have a firm approach to it, which is what we do.
Final question, just before I let you go. I heard the Ireland Prime Minister talking in their Parliament to say that for the 24th through to the 25th of December, they are going to halt all import-export rules so that Santa can come in and do what he wants to do. Are you doing the same?
I think that is enormously important, and I know that the Prime Minister and the whole government, we are all very pro Santa Claus, Father Christmas. He comes to my house. I know it sounds extraordinary, but every year since I've been around, he's come and visited. Sorry, what
do you leave out for him?
I leave a carrot for the reindeer.
Yeah.
I leave a little glass of brandy. and some mince pies. And then what happens, I go down with my girls, and the next morning, always, the carrot has been nibbled at, so I know that the reindeer have been there. The brandy has been completely consumed.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And in a kind of greedy fashion, it seems to me. You know, it's spilt all over the place. He's obviously in a rush. And there are normally some little footprints where the reindeer have come from the fireplace into the room. So
yeah, but you are suspending the import.
So absolutely, there will be no barriers to Santa Claus delivering this year.
Fantastic
absolutely.
News. Let's end on an up. It's good to see you. Thanks so much indeed. Thanks.